and either welcome back to my channel. I am so grateful that you have joined me today. Today is going to be an impromptu video. I actually had something else planned to talk about today, but for the sake of transparency and creating a video just about something that was on my heart, I have changed the topic to dealing with depression and anxiety. In addition to talking about dealing with depression and anxiety, I would like to talk about therapy, medication, healing, and trauma as well. So I am a person who, by the way, let me just mention that this is extremely difficult for me. I'm definitely an introverted person, and I'm definitely not a person that deals with their feelings publicly, but this is something that I really felt like I needed to do. A lot of times with being on social media and talking to friends and family members, you just realize that a lot of people are going through and dealing with a lot of depression and anxiety, especially when it comes to the winter months of the year. And it's just something that I don't feel is talked about enough. So I just wanted to share my experiences and the different ways that I have dealt with this. And this is going to be a really light video. I'm not really going to dive all the way in because that would be a couple of hours of a video that would take. But anyway, so I have been dealing with depression for as long as I can remember. I remember being a little girl and being sad and being very lonely. And as I got older, as I became a teenager, as I was in my early 20s, it just felt like something that was normal, something that just was a part of me, something that I couldn't really explain to other people because either I didn't have the words to explain it, or I felt that they wouldn't understand, or if I did try to explain it, it kind of just felt like I couldn't connect with anyone. I couldn't help them help me. More than anything, I think it came from a place of not being able to express where exactly the sadness was coming from. So I definitely knew that something was wrong. I definitely knew that there was some type of depression going on, but I didn't really act on it or do anything about it until about 2017. In 2017, it had been about a year since I had quit my job and went to be a full-time entrepreneur, and life just was not going as I thought it would. It just things were not coming together. I felt very down. I felt very weak. I was crying uncontrollably day after day. I couldn't sleep at night. I found myself sleeping most of the days away, and just not knowing what to do with my life, not really having a desire to do anything with my life. And I definitely was extremely suicidal. So I did get to a point where, I felt like if I did not get help, that I could possibly do something to hurt myself. So that was the first time that I actively sought a therapist. And it was really kind of like eeny, meeny, miny, mo, who takes my insurance? And I started therapy about a week after that at the end of 2017, in December of 2017. And therapy was a really good experience. It definitely was. I was definitely hesitant at first. It takes a long time for me to warm up to a person, especially to tell them my personal business and my personal reasons for wanting to be in therapy and different things like that. But I was lucky to connect with someone who I trusted and who I liked and who I really thought could help me navigate through these feelings that I was having. So after being with my therapist for, I want to say, about 2 months, she clinically diagnosed me with depression and anxiety. And so, with anxiety, it's definitely something where you're constantly either living in the past or living in the future. So, you're constantly replaying situations that have happened already that you wish you either dealt with differently, or you wish the outcome was different, or you're in the future and you're worried about things that may never happen, how they will happen, and you can be really detailed about it, and really wreck your brain with thoughts and possibilities that will really drive you, excuse the word, but drive you crazy. So therapy was really about just getting my feelings out. That the first couple of months was very, very difficult because I was just constantly crying, constant crying, saying, I don't know why I feel this way. I don't know how to stop feeling this way. And just as a very short way of explaining a little bit, we were able to dive a little deeper and figure out that some of the depression at least had come from some childhood trauma. So, trauma comes in so many different forms. Definitely being abused as a child. It can be losing someone really close to you. It's so many different forms of trauma that, depression is just such a wide thing. There's nothing that you can really pinpoint on exactly why you feel the way you feel all the time. So, for me personally, I realized that the childhood trauma was definitely a huge trigger of where my depression was coming from. Another huge trigger was the relationship between my parents. My parents did argue a lot and they worked a lot, and I felt like there was a bit of neglect there, as far as when I was younger and feeling a lack of protection. So I think that as I grew older, that is something that I um, projected onto other people, feeling like either I couldn't trust people because, either the childhood trauma or the neglect at home. Um, so it was very hard for me to connect with people um, when I was younger, and even still nowadays, it's still very hard for me to connect with people. I stayed in therapy for about 3 years, and so in about 2020 is when my therapist got really serious with me about medication. Because although working through therapy definitely helped, I was able to have clearer thoughts and able to better explain the things that were going on inside of me. I was still extremely depressed. It was still very, very difficult, many days to get out of bed. It was very difficult to have relationships. I feel like a lot of my friendships and relationships have been ruined because of my depression, because I was never able to explain to someone why I would flake on them all the time, or why I wouldn't answer my phone for months, or why it just seemed like I was distant, or like I didn't want to be bothered with certain people. And it definitely was not the case most of the time that I didn't want to be bothered with certain people. It was just, I just did not know how to handle it. So I did start seeing a psychiatrist, I'm sorry, in at the end of 2020. As some people do know, I was also diagnosed with leukemia in May of 2020. So dealing with my sickness on top of the mental issues that I was dealing with, it was very, very difficult for me to cope. And so I did meet with the psychiatrist a couple of times, and I was again diagnosed with depression and anxiety. And we tried a few different medications. Um, different times throughout the year. So now it's been about a year since I have been on medication, and the medications have switched up throughout the year. And I will say that I am definitely a different person. And not just due to the medication, but definitely due to the therapy that I have worked so hard at. I'm able to process things better. I'm able to not think of the worst case scenario and let that take over my mind and my brain. I am able to rationalize. I'm able to um, not be so hard on myself, forgive myself, forgive other people. So I'm actually in a place now where I feel like, medication is such a touchy topic, and is something that I was very embarrassed of for a very long time. But I will say that it definitely helped me. It's not something that I want to um, be dependent on in the years to come. So I meet with my psychiatrist every month, and I do have plans on talking to him about weaning me off the medication and seeing how that would work for me. Um, but in general, I will say that therapy, number one, is something that is just necessary for so many different people. Even if you're not feeling suicidal, and even if you're coping and able to go throughout your days, a lot of times um, things can hit us. Life can hit us, with a bag of bricks. And sometimes you're just not able to hold on, especially when you have children. It's like you kind of are robotic and you have to keep going, you have to keep moving, and you're not allowed to feel and, figure out the things that you're going through. So therapy is definitely something I would recommend. And then also, even for someone who is not fully sold on medication, it was just very interesting to get the evaluation that I got. So, in addition to therapy and also the medication having an impact on how I am doing today, I will say, finding something that gives you drive. I remember at one point, I just kind of felt like if I could do one thing every day that made me feel a little bit better about myself, then I can kind of get through the days that way. One thing every day that could get me through to the next day and make me feel good about myself. And for me, that was exercise. So between therapy, medication, exercise, and prayer, I am definitely in a completely different place than I was um, 4 or 5 years ago, and throughout my childhood and throughout my teenage years. And I definitely struggle a lot still. A lot of days is just kind of like I cannot pick myself up to do what I need to do, and in my mind I know what I need to do, and I want to, and I feel motivated in my mind, and physically I'm still not able to bring myself to do certain things. But I'm more gentle with myself, and I'm more understanding of what's happening and what I'm going through, and I'm more forgiving of it. And so it's really just a journey, and it's not something. A lot of times when you're feeling very depressed, you want to isolate yourself, because you feel like a burden to other people, and you feel like no one will understand, or you feel like people will think that you're lazy or that you're weak mentally. But it's definitely, if you find people who love you and who are willing to understand what you're going through and to have compassion, it's definitely something that you want to share, because people do want to help. Um, and so again, I just hope that this video was able to connect with someone. I hope that it may have added value to something in your life may have added value to how you were feeling about something. I leave all my information all over my YouTube. I leave my Instagram information just so that if anyone wanted to reach out and to contact me for whatever reason, that you wouldn't hesitate to do so. I think that I will do another video where I go more in depth about the trauma that can cause depression later on in your life, and deeper into the talks of the medications and the effects of the medications and stuff like that, if anyone is interested in that. And I thank you for coming back to my channel, and I thank you for spending your time here on this channel, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.